Hello there.
The cinema courtroom is now in session.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, welcome back to the Cinema Courtroom, a podcast where your favorite blockbusters await trial with your host and galactic judge, Mark. Now, we're not going to be reviewing a blockbuster in this podcast. Instead, we are going to be talking about 5 misconceptions about movies. Now, to start with, we are going to be exploring the notion that because every movie needs some degree of conflict, because as you know, conflict serves as a function that ties the character to the screenplay narrative, an antagonist is a necessity. That is not true. The first misconception that we, as a general audience, get caught up in is that, every film needs an antagonist. Otherwise, the narrative falls apart like Legos. Now, surprisingly enough, I haven't seen The Office. I would like to at some point, but I haven't watched it yet. The Office is one of the most popular television series. One of. Because we got Game of Thrones, yada yada yada. Yet, the show doesn't have a villain. But it's still good, right? It's still most commonly known, to people who love mockumentaries, right? Well, that's because an antagonist is not a necessity for a film to function and coexist. And you know what? While we are talking about movies coexisting without any antagonists, The Martian, starring Matt Damon, there is no living antagonist in that movie. Now, don't get me wrong. Had Mark Watney been stranded in anywhere else but Mars, there would have perhaps been no conflict, and his isolation in Mars would have just been a series of events that had occurred. But the $600 million box office success is an explicit indication that movies are successful without villains incorporated in the narrative. Therefore, an antagonist is not a necessity for success. On to the second misconception. Have you ever heard the phrase that you get what you work hard for? I'm here to tell you that this phrase is wrong when it comes to movies. Let's face it, every average filmmaker works hard in producing a movie. But that does not guarantee that those movies will win the box office and make big bucks. There is only so much market share that can be exploited in the film industry as a whole. Alright? And even if a filmmaker put their blood, sweat, and tears into the final product, like The Suicide Squad directed by James Gunn, a lot of hard work in VFX shots have been put into that movie, yet it didn't project their anticipated returns from the movie. Why do you think that is? Well, that's because not only do movies like The Suicide Squad, Edge of Tomorrow, Shawshank Redemption have to be good in order to, even make it into the box office. It must also be lucky with a flip of a coin. This is an economical law that cannot be challenged here. I'm sorry. Many movies are going to be left out when it comes to ticket sales, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing we can do about that. Not everyone can become rich, nor should they, because let's be real. If every movie consolidated the box office, there would be no motivation incentive due to a lack of competition. Hence, there will be an increase of trash-infested films that will have the mentality of, anyone can win the box office, let me half-ass this project, because I'm gonna make it That is a guarantee. Alright? Now, again, I'm sorry, but no, it's not alright. This conception about movies is flawed. You may be asking, but hold on, you said good movies don't always consolidate the box office. What is your definition of a good movie? Tell me. Isn't it subjective? There is a common misconception that has been, floating around as of late, that there are no objective criteria surrounding the development of a movie. This is far from reality. Movies are not subjective to a large extent, but rather to the small extent. You can't measure the quality of an average film. You can, however, measure the complexity of a filmmaker's vision, its number of achievements like Oscar award nominations and wins. Technical accomplishments like we keep seeing with Avatar and its influence on the pop culture industry are subjective. So a person's given reaction to a movie is indeed subjective. But having the conception that all movies are subjective, or to a colossal extent, just illustrates, and I am going to be blunt here, that you have no standards. Other movie pundits, who are like John Campea, will say all movies are subjective. As we've just established, that just ignores numerous factors. So, that's that. The next misconception is something we unfortunately hear a lot in the pop culture space, and it's that making a movie is a piece of cake. Shooting a movie is effortless. Ridley Scott mentioned something in an interview. I agree with it 100%. It is bloody brain surgery. More difficult than banking, and if you attempt to operate a camera on the first go, chances are you're going to need to take a whole bloody course on how to, operate it. You're going to need to hire actors, compensate actors, organize and accommodate actors, scheduling and organizing PR for actors. You keep hearing that word. It's all about the actors, man. And forming a cohesive narrative that makes sense. Scheduling what scenes, you are to shoot, and in what order arrangements. That doesn't sound effortless to me. Oh, and let's not forget, that is only so you have acquired the raw footage to edit. There is the post-production phase. You know when they say that you've barely started your writing career after you have written your first book? Well, that's because it takes a long time to publish. The same concept can be applied to filmmaking. I can't be more annoyed to read this misconception to begin with, and having to hear it on pop cultural forums such as Discord or Reddit, since those people, myself included, alright, I'm throwing myself under the bus, have never picked up a camera and tried to shoot a movie in the first place. The final misconception is fine camera equipment is correlation to fine footage. That's the black and white equation here. No, it's not black and white. You can utilize a camera off of a cheap ass yard sale and apply some brilliant color grading and post-production. You don't need fine camera equipment to make your footage look fine and presentable. Sure, having the best equipment might go a long way, but imagine the best of everything and your cinematography is horrible, or the camera is too shaky in scenes that it shouldn't be. No, you listen to me. Employ someone to hold a camera properly and shoot in the right angle. Otherwise, your camera equipment is utterly useless. You got me? I don't want to ever hear this misconception again. Never! But anyway, those are all of the 5 common misconceptions that even I've fallen the trap of believing before. Now, I would like to conclude with the closing verdict. This is the verdict that all of my points used to debunk the 5 misconceptions culminate to. Filmmakers, as you're well aware, won't inherently succeed with a villain or by just making a good movie. That is because they have a lack of expertise in regards to business, and because they're, prioritizing the deliverance of quality screenplays and films. That in itself isn't a effortless procedure, which is why, that I think the verdict that filmmakers who succeed in filmmaking aren't business experts, and that again can be applied to 5 of the common misconceptions that I've outlined. What do you guys think are other misconceptions of movies? Do you agree with my thoughts in this podcast episode? If not, let me know why it is. I would love to read your comments, and also let me know any other misconceptions that I haven't listed here. Before I end this podcast, I have a few reminders and updates that I'll be delighted to share with you. Stick around, you're going to want to hear them. You might notice that the Cinema Courtroom has been in a bit of a grind recently. I've put up 2 episodes in their allocated times, Friday and Tuesday. You can expect this pattern to continue promptly. We are going to have a discussion about Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, as I've already promised, this Friday, 5:30 p.m. Dubai Standard Time. Convert that to your local time zone, or better yet, head on to the YouTube channel right now. You know what? I don't want to hear any more excuses. Just pause this recording and do that right now. Now, you're going to see a video with the thumbnail attached to it, so just click on that notification bell in order to be notified of when the podcast will debut. And you know what? We're going to break that like and reshare button. So again, Fantastic Beast review this Friday, 5:30 p.m. Dubai Standard Time. And while you wait, why not watch the podcast episode I uploaded on Tuesday, where I ranked every single MCU film. Yes, that's right. Just in the beginning of September, I went ahead and did that for over an hour. If you've enjoyed that particular ranking and want to see another one, you're also in luck. Very soon, I'm going to upload a podcast episode where I will be ranking every single Harry Potter title. I will be scheduling that one shortly. It should come in a week or 2. If you turn on notifications, you will be the first to be notified. And while you are still here, I am proud to say that the Cinema Courtroom show will be expanded in terms of content. Later this year, I'll be shifting to creating live content for my listeners, which means I will be interacting with you just a few seconds behind, live, which might hopefully, create an engaging online environment with my new and existing viewers. Oh, and can I let you in on a secret? Just don't tell anyone, because this part isn't official. Let's just say I might have a podcast in the works that isn't just limited to movies. In early 2023 or later this year, fingers crossed, I am going to launch a television podcast. Although you might have to wait a while for that. But again, it's in the works and it will be a blast. We will talk Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, all 6 seasons, Star Wars television, Marvel television, Daredevil, maybe even Loki season 2 when that comes out. DC television, Game of Thrones, and House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, The Sopranos, The Office, Sandman, Stranger Things, Vikings, You, The Boys, Anime: Attack on Titan, Naruto, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Pokemon. Basically, all of the anime stuff that haven't seen before. Okay, I'm gonna stop myself before I say too much. Just pretend you never heard it from me, okay? Snitches end up in ditches, and I don't want to see any of the listeners of this podcast under a ditch. Now, that's all I have for you today. Until this Friday, thank you very much for tuning in to the Cinema Courtroom show. I had a lot of fun doing this episode where all I did was talk about an interesting movie-related subject and announce some of the projects that I am working on, which I hope will be out in the near future. Keep your eyes out on when next episodes of the Cinema Courtroom will launch on the YouTube and Spotify platform. Thank you very much once again for listening to the end. I am your galactic judge, Mark, and I hope you have a spectacular, spectacular day.
Hello there.
Court is now dismissed.